Chapter 1: The Desperate Choice. The sewing machine whirred softly in the dim light of Isla Hartwell's cramped apartment. Its rhythm steady, but her hands trembled as she worked. A seamstress by trade, an Omega by birth, Isla had never asked for much in life. A roof over her head, thread in her basket, and the laughter of her younger brother, Theo, echoing through their tiny home. But now, Theo's laughter had been replaced by coughs that rattled his chest and drained his strength. Leukemia. The word hung over her like a curse. His only chance at survival was a new line of treatment, experimental, expensive, locked behind the walls of Sterling Pharmaceuticals. The same company whose ads gleamed across every billboard in the city, promising miracles for those who could afford them. And Isla could not. She stitched until her fingers bled, but the bills only grew higher. Every night she whispered prayers into her pillow, and every morning she woke to the cruel reminder that thread and fabric could not buy her brother's life. That was when she heard about the auction house, a place whispered about in Omega circles, a gilded underground where wealthy, powerful alphas paid for companionship, for one night or more. It was dangerous, shameful, binding, but it promised what nothing else could: quick money, enough to change a life. And Isla had run out of choices. The night of the auction, Isla stood trembling beneath a velvet mask and a borrowed gown. The hall glittered with chandeliers, and the air throbbed with primal energy. Alphas lounged in leather seats, their eyes burning with hunger and dominance. Omegas were led out one by one, each name whispered like a temptation. When the announcer called her name, Lot 42, Virgin Seamstress, Unbonded Omega, Isla's knees nearly buckled. She stepped onto the stage, heart pounding, every instinct screaming for her to flee. But then she thought of Theo's face. Gaunt, pale, still managing to smile at her from a hospital bed, and she stood taller. The bidding began. 50,000. 70. 100. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the number soared higher. Isla's breath caught when the voice rang out, deep, commanding, carrying the unmistakable weight of dominance. 1 million. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the man in the back. Tall, immaculate suit, dark hair swept back with ruthless precision. His aura radiated alpha authority, a predator among prey. His gaze pinned Isla like a flame pinning moth wings. Damon Sterling, the billionaire alpha, the pharmaceutical mogul, the man whose company held the very cure Theo needed. She didn't understand why he chose her. She didn't understand why his eyes lingered on her like recognition, like possession. But when the gavel struck, Isla Hartwell was his. For one night, that night, in his penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline, Isla tried to remind herself it was only business. She had sold her body for her brother's life. She had to endure no matter the cost. But Damon Sterling wasn't like other alphas. He didn't take her roughly or treat her like an object. He studied her, as though peeling back layers she had carefully hidden from the world. His touch was possessive yet reverent, commanding yet protective. And when his lips finally claimed hers, something inside her shattered. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. It wasn't supposed to awaken a bond that made her blood burn and her heart ache. By dawn, Isla knew one truth she could not face. This was no longer just a transaction. It was the beginning of something dangerous, something binding, something she might never escape. Chapter 2: The Contract Proposal. Morning light spilled across the penthouse, soft gold against glass walls and marble floors. Isla woke slowly, tangled in silk sheets that smelled faintly of sandalwood and smoke. His scent. For one blissful moment, she forgot who she was, where she was, why she was here. Then memory struck like a blade. The auction house. The bid. Damon Sterling. $1 million for a single night with her. Her cheeks burned. Her heart twisted. She sat up, clutching the sheet to her chest, furious with herself for remembering not the shame, but the way his hands had felt when they held her. The way his voice had deepened when he whispered her name against her skin. Isla. A sound drew her eyes. Damon stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, broad shoulders tense beneath a tailored shirt. His presence filled the room, commanding without effort, his aura radiating raw alpha power. "You're awake." His tone was smooth, controlled, yet his gaze softened when it fell on her. "Good." She bristled, gathering her courage. "Our deal is finished. I'll take my payment and go." He tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. Then he crossed the room with deliberate grace and set a slim envelope on the bedside table. "Your brother's hospital bills," he said quietly. "Paid in full." Her breath caught. She stared at the envelope, then at him. "Why? You could have left it at the money we agreed on." For a long moment, Damon didn't answer. His jaw tightened, his eyes unreadable. Finally, he said, "Because I don't like owing debts. And because—" His gaze lingered on her lips, then her trembling hands. "Because I'm not finished with you." Isla's pulse raced. "Not finished." He leaned closer, voice dropping into a low growl that made her blood heat. "I want you, Isla Hartwell. Not for one night. For 6 months." She blinked. 6 months. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "I need a mate." The words hung in the air, impossible, absurd. Damon Sterling, the untouchable alpha billionaire, feared and admired in equal measure, needed her? He explained with ruthless efficiency, as though closing a business deal. Sterling Pharmaceuticals is negotiating a merger with a European biotech company. Their board is old-world, traditional. They prefer stability. Family men. Alphas with bonded mates. His eyes burned into hers. "You'll be my Omega. Publicly. 6 months. In exchange, your brother will receive the full course of experimental treatment." Her heart lurched. The cure. The one thing she had been praying for. But the cost. "Why me?" she whispered. His gaze darkened, flickering with something primal. "Because when I touched you last night, something awakened. Don't deny you felt it too. The bond." Heat flared in her cheeks. She wanted to deny it, to claim it had only been biology, a trick of pheromones. But deep inside, she knew he was right. When Damon kissed her, her soul had responded in a way no alpha had ever stirred before. Still, fear gnawed at her. "And if I refuse?" He straightened, his mask of control slipping back into place. "Then you walk away. Your brother gets the treatment anyway. Consider the debt paid." Isla stared at him, stunned. He wasn't trapping her. He was offering her a choice. But his scent, his presence, the fire in her blood when he looked at her, there was no escaping the truth. Refusing him might save her pride, but accepting him might save more than just her brother. It might save herself. After a long silence, Isla lifted her chin. 6 months. Nothing more. Damon's lips curved in satisfaction, his aura wrapping around her like a velvet chain. 6 months. But as he reached for her hand, sealing the deal with a touch that sent lightning sparking through her veins, Isla knew a dangerous secret. No matter what they agreed on, her heart would not last that long untouched. Chapter 3: A Billionaire's Mate. The Blacktown car slid through the Sterling Tower gates like a shark gliding into its den. Isla sat rigid in the back seat, her dress, silk navy blue, far finer than anything she'd ever owned, clinging uncomfortably to her skin. It had been only 3 days since Damon proposed the unthinkable contract. 3 days since she said yes, and already her life felt unrecognizable. She had never seen such wealth, never walked halls lined with oil paintings older than her family line, never worn jewelry that sparkled like captured stars. Damon had ordered her new wardrobes, instructed stylists, even briefed her on etiquette. She was to be presented, not as a hired Omega, but as his chosen mate. Her stomach twisted with every lesson. She was a seamstress, not a socialite. She stitched gowns for women like this, not wore them. Damon sat beside her now, impossibly composed in his suit, his presence filling the space with effortless dominance. The scent of his cologne teased her senses, threaded with the darker, richer notes of his alpha pheromones. He hadn't touched her since that first night. Not once. But every nerve in her body hummed when he was near. "You're nervous." His deep voice cut through her thoughts. Steady. Certain. She stiffened. Of course I'm nervous. You're parading me in front of the entire supernatural elite. Not parading, he corrected smoothly. His hand rested on his knee, fingers curling slightly, as though resisting the urge to reach for her. Presenting. There's a difference. Tonight they will see you as mine, and they will believe it. Isla swallowed hard, looking away. And what if they don't? For the first time, his voice dropped into something rougher, edged with the alpha's possessive growl. Then I will make them. Her pulse leapt. She hated how her body responded to that note in his voice, hated how part of her wanted to lean into his protection. The car stopped. The driver opened the door. Flashbulbs exploded instantly. Paparazzi, journalists, hungry eyes. Ready? Damon asked. No, she whispered. He smirked faintly. Good. Honesty suits you. Then he took her hand. The touch seared through her like fire, and together they stepped into the storm of cameras. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers glowed above a sea of silks and tuxedos. Supernaturals mingled. Vampires in sharp suits, witches draped in glamour, alphas radiating power. The air was thick with pheromones and politics. Damon Sterling. Voices whispered as he entered. Heads turned. The billionaire alpha had always been a figure of intrigue. But tonight, he wasn't alone. And Isla felt every stare like a blade. Who is she? An Omega? He never takes mates. She's beautiful. But she looks so ordinary. The words slithered around her. But Damon's hand tightened on hers, steadying her. He leaned down just enough for her to hear. Ignore them. Look at me. She did. And for a heartbeat, the noise faded. His eyes burned with something more than business. Something primal. Something that made her breath hitch. A man approached, sharp-suited, eyes cold. Damon's cousin, Richard Sterling, one of the many who coveted his empire. He smiled too thinly. Cousin. And this must be the elusive mate you've been hiding. Forgive me if I'm surprised. His gaze raked over Isla, dismissive, probing. She fought the urge to shrink. But Damon's arm slid firmly around her waist. Surprised you didn't hear sooner. I thought gossip was your favorite sport. His smile was all teeth. Meet Isla Hartwell. My Omega. My mate. The words rang out final and unchallenged. And something inside Isla shifted at the sound. My mate. Her heart stumbled, traitorous. She wasn't his. Not really. 6 months, that was all. But when Damon's thumb brushed against her hip, sending sparks racing through her veins, she wondered if she was lying to herself. The evening blurred with handshakes, toasts, veiled threats. Isla played her part, smiling when needed, answering when spoken to. Yet beneath it all, the bond simmered hotter, undeniable. She felt Damon's presence like a tether, pulling at her, grounding her, tempting her. By the time they returned to the penthouse, exhaustion weighed on her shoulders. She dropped onto the velvet sofa, kicking off her heels with a sigh. Damon loosened his tie, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. You handled yourself well. She laughed, brittle. I nearly fainted 3 times. Then you hit it perfectly. Their eyes met. For a moment, the air thickened, the bond between them thrumming like a live wire. Damon, she whispered, unsure if it was a plea or a warning. He stepped closer, slowly, deliberately, until his shadow fell over her, until his scent wrapped around her like silk and steel. His hand lifted, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. His touch lingered, sending heat rushing through her blood. You're mine, Isla, he murmured. Not a question. Not business. A claim. Her breath caught. Only for 6 months. His eyes darkened, burning with something dangerous. We'll see. And before she could protest, his lips claimed hers, hungry, searing, sealing a bond neither of them could deny. Chapter 4. The cracks in the contract. Days turned into weeks. At first, Isla counted them 1, 2, 3, like a prisoner etching lines into stone. 6 months, she reminded herself. 6 months and she'd walk away. Her brother would live. Her debt to Damon Sterling would be paid. But the walls she built around her heart were crumbling faster than she could repair them. Every day Damon was there. Fierce, steady, unyielding. His presence filled the penthouse like a storm contained in glass, commanding attention even in silence. He was ruthless in the boardroom, sharp in the press, but with her, he was something else. He noticed when she was too tired to eat, sliding a plate closer without a word. He demanded she hold his hand at public functions, not out of obligation but with an unspoken protectiveness that made her chest ache. And when nightmares woke her, echoes of the auction, of the hungry eyes of strangers, his voice steadied her low and firm, reminding her she wasn't alone. But Damon never touched her the way he had that first night. Not fully. His restraint was iron, his control absolute. And yet every look, every brush of his hand, made her feel like she was burning from the inside out. The first sign of trouble came at the gala in Sterling Tower. The ballroom glittered with power. Alphas, betas, witches, even a fey duke whose gaze lingered far too long on Isla. Damon kept her close, his palms splayed against the small of her back, a claim both intimate and public. Midway through the evening, Richard Sterling approached again, his smile sharp as glass. Still parading her about, cousin? Tell me, how much did this little seamstress cost you? The word seamstress dripped from his lips like poison. Isla froze, blood draining from her face. Did he know? Had someone uncovered her secret? Damon's aura flared so suddenly. The air thickened with alpha dominance. Conversations faltered. Glasses trembled on trays. Careful, Richard, he growled, voice lethal. The last man who insulted my mate is still regretting it. The room hushed. Isla felt every eye on her. Mate, not contract, not convenience. Mate, Damon hadn't corrected Richard, he had claimed her. Again. Richard's smirk faltered, but his eyes glittered with malice. He leaned closer, whispering so only Isla and Damon could hear. You can't hide her forever. Sooner or later, they'll smell the truth on her. And when they do, cousin, she won't be safe. That night, Isla lay awake, Richard's words echoing in her mind. The truth. What truth? The next morning, she sought answers in the quiet of the Sterling Library. Row upon row of leather-bound tomes towered around her, many older than the city itself. Her fingers drifted across spines until one book all but leapt into her hands. Legends of the Silvermoon line. She flipped it open and froze. Illustrations danced across the pages. Silver-eyed Omegas, radiant with power, bloodlines stretching back to the dawn of the supernatural world. An ancient lineage thought lost to history. Omegas who could heal, command, even bend alphas to their will. Her heart hammered. She remembered her grandmother's lullabies. The strange silver shimmer in Theo's eyes when his fever spiked. The way Damon's touch set her soul alight in a way no alpha ever had before. Could it be? Isla. Damon's voice startled her. He stood in the doorway, watching her too closely, as though he already knew what she'd found. She snapped the book shut. I was just. You shouldn't be here. His tone was sharper than usual, but beneath it lay something else. Fear. Her throat tightened. What aren't you telling me, Damon? For the first time, the alpha who commanded empires hesitated. His jaw worked, his hands curled into fists. He stepped closer, towering over her, his scent wrapping around her like smoke. You're not just an Omega, he said finally, voice low and grave. You're Silvermoon. The words struck like thunder, shattering everything she thought she knew. Her knees weakened. That's impossible. The Silvermoon bloodline died out centuries ago. His gaze burned into hers. Then explain why every alpha in this city can't stop watching you. Explain why I... He broke off, breathing hard, as though admitting too much. Why the bond is stronger than anything I've ever felt. Isla staggered back, shaking her head. No, I'm no one. I'm just a seamstress. I'm just... But her voice cracked, betraying her own doubt, because deep down she knew. Something inside her had always been different. And now the world was waking up to it. Chapter 5: The Enemy's Move. Rain hammered against the penthouse windows that night, streaking the city in silver and shadow. Isla sat curled in an armchair, her sketchbook balanced on her knees. Old habits were hard to break. When her hands weren't stitching fabric, they were drawing designs, chasing beauty out of the ache in her chest. But tonight, her pencil would not steady. Damon's revelation gnawed at her. Silvermoon. The word carried weight she didn't want, a destiny she hadn't asked for. Omegas like her weren't supposed to be powerful. They weren't supposed to be hunted. Yet the more she tried to deny it, the stronger the signs became. Her senses sharpened. Her touch soothed Theo's fevers faster than any medication. And when Damon looked at her, the bond burned hotter, pulling at something ancient deep in her soul. She closed her eyes, clutching her pencil. I don't want to be legendary. I just want Theo safe. A sharp knock shattered the silence. The butler entered, pale. Sir, news from the hospital. Master Theo's treatment. It's been delayed. An error in the approval paperwork. Isla shot to her feet. What? That treatment is his only chance. You promised. Her panic broke against Damon's composure. He rose from his desk, calm but cold. This isn't a clerical error. It's sabotage. Sabotage. Isla's voice cracked. Damon's jaw tightened. Richard, or someone allied with him. They're using your brother to get to us. Her blood ran cold. Theo wasn't just vulnerable, he was bait. The next day, Damon took Isla to the Sterling headquarters, where tension ran thick as steel cables. Meetings blurred into arguments. Merger negotiations strained under pressure. All the while, Isla felt eyes on her, hungry, calculating. Whispers followed her like shadows. Silvermoon, Silvermoon. She heard it once, hissed by a witch at the elevator. She saw it in the glint of recognition from an elder alpha across the boardroom. Somehow, the secret was seeping out. By nightfall, Isla was exhausted. Damon led her back to the car, his hand firm at her back. But as they stepped into the underground garage, movement flickered at the edges of her vision. Too fast. Too close. Damon, she gasped. Figures emerged from the shadows, cloaked and armed. Richard's mercenaries. The leader sneered. Hand her over, Sterling. Silvermoon blood belongs to us. Isla's heart thundered. Hands grabbed for her, rough and cold. But Damon was faster. He shoved her behind him, his aura exploding outward, alpha dominance crashing like a wave. The attackers faltered, but only for a heartbeat. Then steel clashed against steel, shadows moving in deadly rhythm. Damon fought with lethal precision, every strike fueled by the primal need to protect. But there were too many. One broke through, seizing Isla's wrist. Pain seared through her as the man snarled, dragging her close. We'll bleed you dry, little Omega. Power like yours was never meant to be wasted on. The world went white. Isla's fear ignited into fire. Something ancient surged in her blood, raw and electric. Her veins pulsed with silver light. Power rippled outward, slamming into the mercenary. He flew backward, crashing into a pillar with a sickening crack. Silence. Every eye turned to her. Damon's enemies froze, their confidence crumbling into fear. Isla stood trembling, her hands glowing faintly with silver fire. She had no idea what she'd done, no idea how. But Damon's voice cut through the shock, low and awed. Silvermoon. His enemies fled into the shadows, dragging their wounded, leaving the echo of their threat behind. When the last of them was gone, Isla collapsed, shaking. Damon caught her before she hit the ground, cradling her against his chest. Her tears soaked his shirt. I didn't mean to. He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. His eyes blazed with more than dominance now, with reverence, with something dangerously close to devotion. You're not just an Omega, he said fiercely. You're the Omega, and they will come for you again. But they'll have to kill me first. The bond pulsed between them, undeniable, unbreakable. And as Damon's lips brushed her temple, Isla finally admitted the truth she'd been running from. She wasn't afraid of him anymore. She was afraid of how much she needed him. Chapter 6, Bonded in Silver and Fire. The Sterling estate loomed under a blood-red sky, storm clouds boiling on the horizon. Isla stood at Damon's side, her pulse racing like a trapped bird. Somewhere inside those walls, her brother was being held. Richard had made his move, and this was the endgame. "Stay behind me," Damon growled as they approached the gates, his aura flaring so strong the guards trembled. "No matter what happens, Isla, your safety comes first." Her fingers curled against his sleeve. "Not just me, Theo. I'm not leaving without him." For once, the ruthless alpha didn't argue. He simply nodded. "Then we end this together." The grand hall glittered with chandeliers, but its beauty was poisoned by the presence of Richard Sterling and his entourage of mercenaries. Theo was slumped in a chair near the dais, pale, weak, and four strapped cruelly to his arm. "Cousin," Richard drawled, his smile razor-sharp. "You brought her. Good. Saves me the trouble of hunting." Damon's dominance rolled through the hall, dark and thunderous. "Release the boy," Richard chuckled. "Why would I? He's leverage. And she—" His gaze slid to Isla, hungry, covetous. "She's worth more than any fortune. The last Silvermoon. Do you know what her blood could fetch on the black market?" Isla's stomach twisted, but fear burned away under something fiercer. Power hummed in her veins, silver light flickering at her fingertips. She wasn't prey anymore. "Touch him," she said, voice trembling with fury, "and you'll regret it." Richard's eyes gleamed. "Oh? Show me." With a flick of his hand, his mercenaries surged forward. The battle exploded in chaos. Damon moved like a storm, his strength and speed cutting through Richard's men with lethal precision. The air rang with the clash of steel, the snarl of dominance. But Isla was no longer just watching. When one mercenary lunged for Theo, instinct roared through her. Her palms blazed with silver fire, and the man was hurled backward, crashing into marble with a scream. Every strike awakened more of her power. Light danced across her skin, her aura flaring brighter than Damon's, brighter than any alpha in the hall. The Silvermoon bloodline was alive, and it lived in her. Richard's smirk finally faltered. "Impossible!" He drew a blade etched with runes and lunged for her. Damon intercepted, steel clashing, sparks flying. But Richard was cunning, striking with venomous speed. He slashed Damon's shoulder, forcing him back. Isla screamed, the bond snapping tight in her chest as Damon staggered. Pain rippled through her. Not just sympathy, but shared, as though the wound were hers too. "No!" Silver power erupted from her core, flooding the hall in blinding light. Richard was thrown across the dais, his blade shattering. His men fled, blinded by fear of the Silvermoon Omega, who wielded the power of a goddess. When the light faded, Damon stood panting, blood on his shirt but eyes locked only on her. Isla rushed to Theo, tearing the four from his arm, her glowing hands pressed against his chest. The boy gasped, color returning to his cheeks as the silver fire seeped into him, knitting what sickness had destroyed. Tears blurred her vision. "Theo, oh gods, Theo!" His eyes fluttered open, brighter, clearer than she'd seen in months. "Isla," she sobbed, holding him close. "You're safe now. You're safe." Richard groaned, struggling to rise, but Damon was there first. He pressed the tip of his blade to his cousin's throat. "This ends tonight," Damon snarled. "You come for her again, and you won't live to regret it." Fear flickered in Richard's eyes. For the first time, he understood. This wasn't just about business. Damon Sterling wasn't protecting an asset. He was protecting his mate. Later, back in the quiet of the penthouse, Isla stood on the balcony. The city lights spread below like stars. Theo slept peacefully in the next room, healed, alive. She wrapped her arms around herself, still trembling from the power she had unleashed. Silvermoon. The name no longer felt like a curse, felt like a promise. Damon stepped behind her, his warmth enclosing her, his scent grounding her. "You saved him," he murmured. "And you saved me." She turned, her chest aching with everything unsaid. I wasn't supposed to stay. 6 months. Remember? His hand cupped her cheek, his eyes burning with that fierce, relentless devotion that had undone her from the start. Contracts can be broken. Bonds cannot. Her breath caught. You feel it too? He leaned closer, his lips brushing hers, the bond thrumming between them like a living thing. Isla Hartwell, you are mine. Not by contract, not by law, by fate, by blood, by bond. And when she kissed him, silver light flared between them, binding them in a glow that outshone the city itself. No auction, no contract, no enemy could break it. They were Alpha and Omega. They were mates, forever.